Beautiful, beloved brothers and sisters, 144, words of light, bringers of change, all of that of the ascension and the coming into transcendence, the second coming, all of the labels that you would like to identify with. This is for you, and it is rooted in truth. It is rooted in honesty, vulnerability. I'm Geeia Ariati, and I am here to speak the word as a new earth leader, as one of the original creator beings, Anunnaki connections, connections to the goddess Isis, connections through that of Ninasag and the first seeding of the planet, all of the different journeys that I have traversed through different incarnation cycles into this moment of being embodied in my now human woman. I am here to share a message, and the message comes first with the awareness of our current choice point. And so the reason that I'm sharing the current message and then the long story that will help you to figure out where you're sitting, figure out where it is that you're currently journeying, and why it is that I've chosen to be an example through the going first, right? So I used to get very, very, very upset that I was going first. I used to get so upset that I had to go first because I felt very alone and I felt very isolated, and I felt like no one understood what it was that my bandwidth of consciousness had come to understand. And people didn't get me. They felt a lot of pressure every time I was in their energy field. My frequency would bring in their soul, align them up to their highest timeline. Conversations would either bring resistance and rejection, demonization, or an attachment and a need. And so I would often have push and pull relationships and connections with all soul family, all soul tribe, because they'd want what it is that I had already come to know about myself. They wanted that within, and then they would simultaneously freak out on a human level and run, push, reject, narrative, shadows, all of the things. So that has been my human experience from the point of unconscious realization to the point of conscious realization and full embodiment. And this is a story that is no different. It is no different, and yet it is. But it is a story that is required to be shared if you are still dancing between the realms of new and old earth. Now, there is not many of us that are fully embodied in the new earth consciousness at this point in time. And so this is important to understand, that those who are full creation energy. They are fully standing in the new forefront of the paradigms of consciousness and creation of the golden era moving forward. Yet that comes with awareness. So this choice point that ends on Monday, Monday in Australia, which is the 30 days, has September, April, June, and November. What are we in? We're in September. So it should be the 1st on Monday. And that this gives you basically 2 full days to make some very clear, focused intention. So here today, I am going to be a representation of focused frequency in the form of that of a stability of the energy of new earth frequency. So sometimes I can be very activating, very triggering, very vibrationally a lot, and frequency can be overwhelming in lots of beautiful divine ways. Yet today it is important for me to be a stable, grounded, solid frequency so that you're able to receive without going into an erratic activation or an overwhelming ascension experience. So how to understand that is that whether you're whether you're unconsciously ascending or unconsciously descending, which you will do many at different times, is that an unconscious ascension is just as traumatizing as one that is an unconscious descension. The body receives so much light, the human being doesn't know what's going on. Sometimes you can have ocular migraines, sometimes your heart will be beating so intensely, sometimes there'll be things happening and you can't focus on your direction. Your mind is racing, you can't sleep because you have so much frequency coming into your body. And it is very, very, very important for you to be able to navigate the ability to be the frequency of your grace. So it is it is important. Now, there are going to be people on this call receiving that are in old earth agendas. There is going to be many different energies moving through this space. And because it is a sovereign space, it is a space for all to receive, all to choose, all to be brought into education of, because that is truly what free will being reinstated on the earth is. And so, as you're coming into this space, please be aware of your vibrational impact. Please be aware of what it is that you're about to hear, and please be aware of your energy systems. And take some deep breaths into your heart to stabilize, and make some very conscious declarations that you are not to be influenced by any of the external sources, that you are only guided here by your sacred heart, by your soul's journey, and you will only receive what is true for you in the transition, in this movement, in this transformational era. So for some of you, you have watched me for many years. Some of you have only watched me more recently. Some of you really came in when I was in Bali and Thailand. And the story that I'm going to share in relation to New Earth, Old Earth, and the split, and how this affects us in this moment, and what is occurring is a choice. We can no longer, if we imagine the birthing of New Earth happened in that of November of last year. I believe it was the 15th. Don't quote me. Time and space just starts to dissolve after a while. But the New Earth was birthed around the beginning of November of last year. This before was a concept. This before was a focused intention. This before was something that we remembered. This was before was something that we were excited for. But we truly focus so much conscious dreaming to birth what I call Sister Tara, and the others may have different names, but Sister Tara was birthed into reality. So she was a being that was consciously birthed. Now, I know I was a portal to assist that birthing, and I know many of you chose to use your vessel to birth this consciousness. Before this being didn't exist. It was a concept, it was a interpretation of mind. It was not a tangible reality. Now it is. Now we're heading into a period of 9 months after this birthing. Now, like any infant, there is a progression stage. There's a nurturing, there's a feeding, there's a nourishment, there is a lot of focus that gets brought into it, and it needs to be gifted with lots and lots of frequency. So much frequency that it creates a strong being. And so those that have been focusing on the new earth have been feeding this beautiful creation, loving it, nurturing it, understanding it, giving it its time and energy. And what's happened is that the old earth and the new earth sit next to each other, and or initially sat next to each other. And then as this new earth being started to create, it began to build its own momentum, its own movement, its own direction, its own focus. And so it no longer sat next to Mother Gaia or the old earth construct of consciousness, which is not bad, nor is it, it is a lower frequency. But it is not a reality that you say, this is the good one, this is the bad one. That's not the truth. The truth is they are different experiences. And many of us have done a lot of Mother Gaia experiencing for many lifetimes, and we wanted to experience something new, aligned with the original plans for the earth. So as we have come through this 9 months, this connection point as Sister Tara has grown, there's a separation, right? So no longer are we side by side, we're distancing. Now, this is where the ripple effect happens on the earth. This is where the ripple effect happens in relationships. This is where the ripple effects happens in your life experience, your own consciousness. And you'll see this distance, right? So, up until now, people have been able to dance between the two realms of consciousness. I can be in my older self, I can be in my newer self, I can do this, I can do that, I can have it all. Beautiful, right? Whilst the distance is close enough. And you can see this in many different ways, right? You can, until a certain bandwidth of information, until a certain frequency, you dance between realms. But eventually, one has to choose. One has to either choose this reality or this reality. And that is what is taking place. It's not that you aren't allowed to have it all. It's not that you are being punished. It's not that you didn't make the choice points. It's not that you have failed your mission. It's that you have been reinstated sovereignty, free will, and you get to choose which reality you're going to continue your soul development, your soul interpretation through. And so, right now, what is happening is conscious choice. That's what a choice point is. You get to consciously choose. So, are you consciously choosing New Earth? Are you consciously choosing Old Earth? And every time I say that, people go, I don't want to choose Old Earth. Well, I can tell you your heart's telling me something different, because there is a lot of gifts in Old Earth experience, in Mother Gaia's experience. So much beauty through karmic understanding, so much beauty through polarization, so much beauty through the patriarchy. And it is not all this shadow experience. There is a lot of beautiful human interpretation that comes with Mother Gaia or Old Earth experience, and then the newness of that. And so you now have a conscious choice here now. What happens if you lie to yourself? What happens if you're not honest with yourself? What happens if, as this split, and those that have consciously chosen New Earth and those that have consciously chosen Old Earth are generating, are focusing, are on this, that gap's getting bigger and bigger, which means the momentum gets stronger, the power, the force, the intensity, where you will be pivoted, or what you could say unconsciously placed into the point of your soul's trajectory, because you didn't consciously choose it. You didn't align yourself to that creation. You chose through a mutation of mind, which we do until we don't. That's just hierarchy of evolvement. That's ego development. That's understanding life itself. And so, as you are here choosing between these realities, you are being guided in this weekend to see where you are, because you need to bring yourself into that reality. Otherwise, you'll be forcefully pushed by your higher selves, your monadic selves, your guides, your experience. And that's okay. That's okay. You can be forcefully pushed. But would you like to go there with ease and grace by choice? Or would you like to be momentumly, through vibrational resonance, through alignment of truth, and have your human dragged in the way? Now, this is what leads me to my story. So, my story, my relationship reveal. Uh, First time speaking publicly in this format, and why it's important for me. So, I sovereignly have chosen to be a leader and a paradigm creator, a conscious creator, and one of the individuals that is bringing in the new earth frameworks of consciousness, which means that I don't get a chance to follow anyone, right? I don't follow anyone on social media. I don't read from any books. I continue to be the builder of the pathway forward, which has a lot of trial and error. It also has a lot of blind spots. It also has a lot of pure intention. It also has source guidance. And it's amazing and it's wonderful and I love it. But I also have to recognize that when you are in that point, people don't understand what you're walking through, because you're all the way down the end of the path and they haven't got to that point on the path yet. So they judge, they shame, they project, they misinterpret information. It doesn't matter if I say it in 55 million different ways, it will be received by that point of information or conscious awareness. And so this story is going to be misunderstood. This story is going to be judged. This story is going to have triggers, reactions, and defenses. This story may even bring up aspects of others that could cause separation. It may cause further outrage, and that's okay, because I chose to be the example, which means I put myself in the firing line and I allow for what becomes integrated, embodied knowledge to be shared. So I won't share my story until I know why the story or the journey happened. And so for those watching and witnessing over this time, you might have felt it, you might have sensed it, you might have been confused by some of the things, some of the actions, some of the expressions, but that's because I did not have the full awareness until all of the puzzle pieces landed. And it's my directive to ensure I only share what has become embodied wisdom. So now we got to backtrack. We got to backtrack to the point of truth. So, through my journey, I have always had the vision of creating in partnership for humanity, for myself. My deepest desire was to be in romantic relationship, in union, and to be of contribution. That drove me when I thought I was going to give up. That drove me when I was so broken. That drove me when I didn't want to look at the next shadow, the next wounding. That drove me when I lost my children. That drove me when I had partner after partner after partner leave. It drove me when I thought I was too broken to see the light or that anyone would understand what I was seeing. It was the driving point. That and the reunification with my children. And one of those children is reunited with me. And it was only through pure divine trust, source guidance, and magic. So my journey is that of the wounded child, the wounded healer, the high yoga empath. My story was that of the woman that couldn't find stability, mentally unstable. From the outside lens, I abandoned my children. From the outside lens, I had many, many, many relationships and looked like I couldn't keep a man. From the outside lens, I made some really dumb choices and sold my body for money. From the outside lens, I had addiction. And from the outside lens, I looked like I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. And that's all true and relevant and is one side from the outside lens. Doesn't make it not true. It absolutely is that truth. There is also the inside lens, and there also is the guided lens, and there's also the many, many, many initiations of journeying. And so from my marriage, which was a karmic relationship, which was so beautiful and so painful, I thought I was going to die without that relationship. I thought that my forever, I couldn't live without my forever. It was 9 months of toxicity until we caused so much pain to each other that it was irreparable. It was the last slice through, right? So many things. And nothing worth speaking to at this point in time, but we ripped each other to shreds so that we could not allow ourselves to grow those attachments back because our souls were not able to continue, right? And that's a karmic relationship. It is, we will tear you to pieces so that you can align yourself to where you are so wounded that you need to heal. And that was the journey that began the healing of all of the wounds. And I am so grateful for my marriage because it was the pivotal catalyst for transformation for me. And from that point, I went into relationship after relationship. So these relationships and I've got really good at understanding them. So I am a master in relationships. No matter what any outside individual thinks, I know them inside out, upside down. And that is because I learned from each and every one. I understood that each masculine was showing me my feminine. Every time I was in my masculine, I was interpreting the feminine within another counterpart. I was understanding divine union. I was healing the broken aspects of my mother and father wounding. I was bringing back the archetypal expressions. And with relationships, and this is a beautiful journey to understand, is with every relationship, you will have one that is contrasting, and then God will give you one that is easeful and graceful. And then you will choose to grow again, right? So a soulmate, when we talk about soulmates are there to go, it's okay, come home. It's okay. You're doing really well. You can keep going. It's all right. And it will nourish you. It will nurture you. It will fill your soul up. It will bring your chi back online. The soul depression, whatever it is from the previous relationship, will be repaired in the next relationship. So we go through the ease and grace connections, the home ones, and then we go through the more challenging ones based on evolution. Now, I chose to evolve in a really, really, really fast, rapid rate, and I wouldn't recommend it. But many of you are choosing it. So many of you are going to understand my journey. If you're not understanding it now, it may be something that you walk through. And this is why I'm sharing, because I want you to understand what I didn't understand. So these connections for basically the 5 years, the 5 years after my marriage was between 6 weeks, if I was lucky, and 3 months. And each one would bring a healing or a reconciliation point. Each one would bring a memory of my past into karmic reconciliation. Each one would heal a thread of disconnection. And it was remembering myself through past timelines. It was remembering my purpose through future. And I learnt myself the best through a relationship. Relationships took from my creation and my purpose, but they also generated to my relationship and purpose. And when I got to a point where I had transcended and gone through a period of enlightenment, which happened in the first point of that was in 2023, I was shown that the state and the bandwidth of my consciousness, the frequency that I was at that point in time, that there was no one on the planet that could hold me. Now, that was pretty devastating. That was pretty heartbreaking for someone who had based their entire purpose on doing it in union, in relationship, in contribution, that I had evolved too much to have a mirror. And I checked the field, I scanned the spirits, I did all that I could, and I got told that I would just have to wait, that I would have to wait for that individual to come in. I was told very clearly over and over and over that there would be a walk-in energy. That would be my divine counterpart or my mirror. And that I would have to help them to integrate into the body because I know genetic modification. If you haven't heard that, I have a connection to that of Ninasag. Ninasag was one of the original Anunnaki geneticists that worked with Enlil and Enki. Now, so I understand light DNA alteration. That's something that I've done to myself more times than I would like to admit, and help others to integrate their light into their form because their bodies have not been genetically prepared for either the evolution they've chosen or for the body that they arrived into. So this awareness of a walk-in was that I was going to receive someone who was going to come into my life, and they were going to have a walk-in, and I would have to assist them to get their spirit to merge with their matter. And at that point, I was very stable, solidified, grounded, anchored, and able to meet what was being provided to me. I met an individual, very, very strong masculine that had the warrior of light and the Viking of truth energy. And if you haven't heard of these two pods or sects of men, you can search that on my YouTube channel and you can find it, because they have very powerful missions. They have very specific archetypal energies, and they are very important and very powerful beings. The warriors of light specifically at this point of time were being guided by their head, what is the word? Commander, we could say, commander. And that was Thoth's energy at the time, right? So Thoth had taken on the leadership role of the Vikings of Truth and the Warriors of Light. And at that point, I met an individual who was not conscious of the awareness that was happening, the preparation that was guided, although receiving, it's time to step onto your mission and purpose, knowing that I'd come into his life to actually guide him onto his purpose, knowing that he had this connection to the warriors of light, knowing the an Anunnaki remembrance, knowing the ancient history, all of these things. He was very well educated from a three-dimensional, logical, masculine mind on his purpose. Yet the remembrance aspects had been shut down because they were too challenging on the third eye. They were too challenging on the human experience, right? This is a typical journey for the masculine. How do you stay focused and how do you stay a protector, a provider when you are being flooded with light? And that's really hard. So this individual was being prepared for this body, and it was beautiful until it got too much. And this is what my presence often brings, is the addictive nature to wanting to walk your purpose, wanting to walk your path, and then simultaneously not being able to cope with the shadow. And so it was a whirlwind. It was beautiful. It was amazing. It was love, like that I felt that I had met someone that could actually hold my intensity. But I knew that there was a lot of trauma. I knew that there was a lot of shadow. I knew that there was a lot of things that were not processed, specifically mother wounds and feminine wounds that I activated, right? So the safest, and this is what has happened for me, I've been the safest woman many have ever felt, and also the most unsafe or the most uncomfortable, the most triggering, the most activating, because of the shadow that hasn't wanted to be embraced and the running from that which is highlighted through and illuminated in my presence. And I do my very best to be nurturing to the shadow, to the ego, to the aspects. Yet, this is a part of the journey. So in a long story short, that was a choosing and not choosing, a choosing and not choosing, the push and pull, right? So that's your new earth, old earth. I want to walk my path. I am too scared of it. I want to be seen. I need to hide everything, right? So that it doesn't matter what the perspective is. This is the push and pull dynamic. And Miatish Kariana tu Kurokotoku Shikiata Kamatakeria Nayatu Kromatakeria Nayatu Kromotokoria Nayatekia Suskeria Shushkeria tu Kromatakeria Nayatiana Eskia Sushkeria Nayatu Koreana. Okay, beautiful. Just had to do some monitoring on my channel for a very specific reason. An individual that was here is obsessed with my light and the remembrance and feels like I'm the only way to get to the pathway. So you could say it's a spiritual stalker, which is not hearing the message of no, which is his journey. So with that, that relationship felt like I was finally going to actually create in king and queen energy, that there was a level of commitment until there wasn't. Now, one of the things that's really important to understand about relationship is we have so many counterparts. We have so many aligned beloveds. We have so many karmics, soul family, soul mates, divine unions, source unions, sacred unions, all of these different relationships, because we have them at each dimensional realm of ourselves. So we have someone that's our perfect polarity in our 3-dimensional realm. We have someone who's our perfect polarity in our 5-dimensional realm. We have someone who's perfectly in our polarity in our 9th, our 7th, our void space, our origin point, right? So that's a lot of divine counterparts. And we also have their, what you could say, their ancestral line. So we have the original divine counterpart, but then if that person doesn't choose based on where you're evolving into, where you're developing, where you're creating, they have their lineage. They have understudies, right? So the idea that you'll never find your person, or the idea that you don't, is the biggest illusion of I've ever seen. Is there's so many. You've probably got 10 just in your town that would either choose you or evolve into something to choose you, or are already in resonance, and it's just the stories that are blocking you from this. Now, why have I had so many? Because I got really good at closing out circles or journeys, we can say. So when this individual that I was connecting with, that was there in line to receive stuff in form as a walk-in to lead this mission so that I didn't have to. So this is where I didn't like being the leader. I'm a woman. I wanted to live a female incarnation. I did not want to lead the Warriors of Light. I did not want to be the speaker of the guidance. I wanted to be the oracle. I wanted to be the feminine embodiment. And it put a lot of pressure on me, a lot of pressure, because I was constantly like, come on, guys, this way, you got to remember. And it drew so much pressure on me. I would get so frustrated when our collective did miss choice points and I watched them leave my life. I was devastated, right? And then I understood greater, and I understood more, and I understood more, and I understood more. And I realized that there's no failure. There is no missed opportunity. There is just change in direction. There is pivot points. If you've missed something, you've gone on a new direction. It might be a little longer. It might make you a little longer this way. It might be slower, grounded, and then you pivot and you speed up and you redirect, right? So these divine alignments, divine timing, yet recognizing that failure is a moment or a lesson of choosing greater success. If I hadn't have missed choice points, I wouldn't have realized how important they were for me to choose. If I hadn't have fucked shit up, I wouldn't have realized how much I want to align myself to creation. If I hadn't have destroyed, I wouldn't have realized the light of truth in surrender and trust of God's word, right? All of that. I know that the karmic experience provided so much for me. And you can choose that path, or you can choose the path of ease and grace. You don't actually have to choose that path to grow. And if you have been any of the initiates that have worked with me or been guided, or you don't have to. What you would have learned through the chaos or the long way, you can learn in an instant. You can integrate in an instant. You can choose in an instant. So the choice was basically put under pressure, where through my human language, I said, you either have to choose your purpose or not. And the purpose was relinquished in that moment from that counterpart. And what happens when you relinquish a purpose, when you relinquish an assignment, when you relinquish a role, what happens is it basically leaves the physical body and it goes up into the ether. So if you've had a role or a responsibility, if you've ever claimed one, or if you've ever given up one, you've claimed it from someone who gave it up. And when you gave it up, someone else picked it and chose it, right? And sometimes we have what you could call placeholders. So my chosen creator partner has been different at different points of time, different points of evolution, different points of interpretation. Now, I've only chosen at this point, I am not evolving anymore. Thank you. I'm done. I am staying grounded, stable, longevity. I am happy to be this way for the rest of my life and probably into other incarnations. Like, I'm really good where I am. And I'm just happy to create from here. I know so much. And I also don't know so much. And I don't want to know, right? I don't need to know. I don't care. So because I've landed where I'm at, which has only just happened, of I don't need to know. I don't want to know. Don't want to answer your question. Don't want to look for the information. This oracle is only here for a very specific focus. And if it's outside of that focus, you'll have to go and sit with it. You'll have to go and find it. You'll have to go and look at it. If it's not in my sovereign free will and choice, then I will not share. So this hadn't landed. This hadn't landed. I was still ran by my need to save the world, my need to stop the end of days, my need for the deluge to not occur, and this vision of this masculine that was going to help me awaken humanity. And so when he relinquished that role was chosen. That role was chosen by one that you all know well, and I'm going to do my absolute best to honor this being because I deeply, deeply love him, as I love all of my counterparts, all of my unions, all of my relationships. Whether they realize that or not, I deeply love each and every one of them, like to the depths of everything that I've ever had within me. It's been a different representation, a different relationship, a different signature, frequency, a different snowflake. And that role for Sos was given up, and it was chosen by my previous partner that you guys all know as Nick, or my beloved. And I didn't know him at that point in time. I didn't know he was watching my YouTube videos. I didn't know he was remembering. I didn't know he was choosing Christos. I didn't know he was choosing the 144. I didn't know consciously that he even existed. And I just saw that role, that energy, that mission went to someone, and I had to take a place in guiding temporarily. And that's when I launched, and you might have known this or seen this, I launched the Men on Purpose. That was me being Thoth for some very specific men that chose to anchor, assist the warriors of light at that point in time. And I honor those men. They will still be processing what they learned in that 12-week program. They are, and if you want to receive that 12-week program, it is available. I have all of the replays. You can offer a sacred exchange, lots of coding, lots of mission assignment, lots of things. Warriors of Light, you guys are back online, but I'm not leading you. So in that, I connected with, through a session, which goes against everything that I've ever been told, that a client should never become a partner and a client should never become a friend, right? So that has been very strongly drilled into me. They cannot meet you where you're at. That's why they come to you for help, right? So that has been the message. I didn't listen very well many times because I knew there was journeys, and I also chose the harder way and also the faster way. And I often would listen to God and chose God's rapid pace to get me to where I wanted to get to. So it wasn't that I ignored God ever. I just knew that those things that had previously been told to me would sometimes not make sense with the things that I was being guided to do at the time. But this is the don't throw the baby out with the bathwater statement of message 5 years ago. Don't date your clients. Not a good idea. They can't meet you. Gets bypassed when you're listening to the message, which is suddenly I am in a king and queen beloved relationship with one of my clients. That happened like that because he claimed me and he chose me. Now that's when I came back from Bali and came back to Australia after I never, ever, 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 ever would have thought I would have come back to this country, because I know what this country is under command of. I know what this country is doing to its people. I know it from the point of genetic engineering to the point of control to that of what we might say is a testing ground for world domination. I get this country, and I had no desire to be here. It was probably the biggest thing that I was fearful about coming back, and coming back knowing it was the truth. Coming back going, I'm not sure why, but I'm all in. And that was a journey of a lot. Now, what me and beautiful Nick went through, I will never be able to fit into hundreds of YouTube videos, because it was the most intense, vastest experience. But if I can explain through his words, I'll follow you to the edge of consciousness and back. That will explain it, right? He did. He followed me to the edges of consciousness and back. We went from the different realms through all layers. Now, I received so much psychic attack during that period. I had the Dark Lords from the void space try and assassinate me. I had Lucifer deceive me. I had different demons come through and infiltrate me. I had what I'm calling now sarks, which is the furthest point from the divine thought of the first consciousness, infiltrate my flesh. Right? So my flesh became infiltrated during this relationship, and I deteriorated from the vibration, the happiness, the vitality. And you can go back and you'll see. I don't need to prove, share, but I did. The deterioration of my body took place. The strength of my spirit also took place. The depth of heart healing took place. The hidden, forgotten trauma of my mother's sinister actions revealed themselves. This journey was not possible without this human being. This human being loved me. This human being cared for me. This human being supported my message. This human being helped me to bring the New Earth tribe. This human being was there for me and gave me exactly what I needed for that journey of horror. Because that's what it was. It was the horror of seeing all of the things that had not been able to be revealed because, one, it wasn't safe enough, and two, I didn't have a mirror that was strong enough in the malevolence and the horrific nature to come through. And what is important about this is that each of us have all layers of consciousness. Some of us present in integrated form. Some of us present in unconscious form. Some of us have things move through us that we don't even know that are moving through us. Through your unconscious, through your thought forms, through your hidden agendas, through your identities, all things, entities, demons, the entire underworld can come through you. As above, so below. So if you are conscious, you can bring the entire heavens to someone, right? So this was our journey. Our journey was, he took me down to the depths of non-existence, extinction, and I took him to the heights of the first spark of reality, of creation. And we danced both of those realms together. Our bodies merged, our spirits merged, our souls merged, our entirety merged. I became him, he became me. And that was the journey of allowing for this full circle, very fast, rapid evolution. Now, the challenge is that I was more evolved. That's it. I was more evolved, and he could not be what I needed him to be. And that sucks, right? That sucks. That hurts. Like, it hurts for me to say that, to really, truly say, you couldn't be the man that I need. Like, no woman wants to say that. No being wants to say, I'm sorry, but you really aren't embodied enough to be my partner. Like, that's fucked. And I don't want to ever have to have been put in that situation. But I couldn't lie to myself and I couldn't lie to him, because guess what? It was killing both of us. Because I was trying to get him to be where I needed him to be, and he was trying to push himself to get to that point. But he couldn't hold it. He had multiple walk-ins try and come in. He had multiple points of transcendence. He had multiple landings. And I know this is his journey, but it's also mine. And so I'm going to do my best not to share more than my part. I witnessed this. I watched this. I held space for this. I spent hours upon hours upon hours upon hours in process. I lost touch with my reality. I stopped spending time in nature. I stopped sharing my messages. I stopped writing. I stopped experiencing, because I was trying to pull him into a position that he was not ready for, and that in the end wasn't his sacred heart's truth anyway, which is why each and every one of those walk-ins stepped away, because he didn't want them. It wasn't his journey. His journey is the journey he's on now. His journey was meeting me so I could take him through the layers of consciousness and teach him and show him the spark of light, God, all of these things. And his journey was to show me the reverse. One of the same, full circle, no different. And I'm not the woman he truly desires, whether he realizes that or not now. I am not what he wants for his human experience. I cannot give him what he desires. I cannot share what he desires. And this is where there's different sides of the spectrum, and where what you might say compatibility is important. I came from the upper realms. He came from the lower realms, both on our journey to embodied fulfillment and totality in human incarnation. No better, no worse, different direction. That my pathway down, I am compatible with someone from the same point, the same direction. And he's compatible with someone from the same point in the same direction. Now I'm going to go into a little bit more personal expression around this, in that for the 3 months before our separation and before he left Australia, we were already guided that he needed to travel. We were already guided, and we'd been seeing for months and months and months, about 7 months, we traversed what we would call a Trinity concept, where there was another woman. And she was there ethereally over and over and over again. And her energy was there, and it would bring up the desire for self-exploration. And there was a synergy, and there was magic, and there was curiosity, and it assisted me because I desire to be with a woman, right? That is my truth. Oh God, I desire to be in divine union with myself, God, man, woman, right? That's my truth. Now, that's something that takes a lot of capacity, a lot of evolvement, a lot of transformation for it to come into manifestation to this level. That's a lot and requires a very unique synergistic individual. Now, that was my projection onto our relationship. His was that he could feel and sense the other woman, which is his monogamous, divine union. And so when you have 2 points where you've merged DNA, you've merged remembrance, you've merged pathways, you've merged perceptions, right? We became one when we've misinterpreted everything, because he's seeing from his truth, I'm seeing from mine. But because we have become one, I see through his and he sees through mine. That he's a monogamous being. I'm not. He has a desire for a child. I have had my children. These things became enmeshed and confused, and we had to look at them over and over and over and over again, because I started to convince myself that I wanted to have another child, because I was in his consciousness. And when I was in his consciousness, it felt true. He was in my consciousness. So when he would see or experience the Trinity, it felt true. This is the challenge with not being autonomous. This is the challenge with I am not one whole being meeting another whole being. And that infiltration created an illusion as well as truth. And so we saw this woman, and it became very loud. I had multiple visions and very strong visions. It got to a point where I had a realization. I was like, you have to go. I'm dying. My body cannot, I'm going to have a heart attack soon. And your nervous system, you need to go on a hero's journey. And that was so true for both of us, even though we knew that was God's will. We didn't know where we were going. I just hoped he was going to come back to me, because I still thought that him and this other woman were a part of the Trinity. I was still in his DNA. I was still in his consciousness. I was still in all of these layers. And he believes that I was his person forever and ever, because he was so grateful for what I've offered him. But he doesn't yet understand, just like I don't fully yet understand everything. So this woman, I knew that the vision, the oracle, the transformation, the timeline was a 3-month period. That he would go to Bali, he would meet this woman, and she would meet him in some of these more exploration experiences that I've done. I don't want to be the priestess anymore. I am an old crone. I am. You're just so crone here. And all of the things that are in his sacred heart's truth, I cannot give him. And all of the things in my sacred heart's truth, he cannot give me. But what needed to happen was a separation of the physical presence so that we could actually bring our DNA, our light, our soul back into one. And that was hard. That was like, oh my God, was this true? These were the unveilings, the realizations, the intensity. When you love someone so much and then you start seeing it, you start to question the whole relationship. That's what any relationship does. If you've been in any like enmeshment and you unmesh, you're like, well, was that even true? Did I even love them? What? Right? That's the brain going into all of the things that were missing, all of the shadows, all of the like, actually, I didn't feel safe with you. I felt really unsafe with you. I felt very reactive. I had to hide this part of myself. I had to do this. I had to merge myself. And that's basically what we both discovered through our own experience. Was I tried to become what he wanted me to be, and he tried to become what I wanted him to be, so that we could have what our heart's desire was, not realizing that it was the path to our heart's desire. Right? That's the hard part. Is we don't realize a lot of the time the relationships that we're walking, that we think are the path to the one, or we think are the path to happiness, they're the path to the one. They're the path to the happiness. They are the breaking points. They are the catalysts. They are the healing. They are the longevity. And so only when I got to the point of releasing every single element from my experience, from my entire totality of the creation's point, where we separated in totality, then, as if by magic, because we are magic, a beautiful being came into my life. A beautiful being that had a walk-in. A beautiful being that died in February of this year, that ended up with a very intense and powerful walk-in energy, which is leading the warriors of light. And when I met him from the first points, right? And this is when you know when you know. And I have multiple times when I've known, other times where it's happened for me, right? There's a difference. There can be alignment in both. There can be synergy in both. There's journey in both. Was two things. The first thing was Geeia, reminds me of Mother Gaia, was the first statement. What a beautiful, beautiful smile you have, right? Melted. That's a way to get into my heart, is to swoon me. Genuinely. And then the next comment was, I've just got to be present with my reality because my current state requires a lot of bandwidth for me to focus on and to move through. Now, if you know me, though, bandwidth, who says that? I do, but I don't think other humans talk about bandwidth in a normal day-to-day conversation. I haven't met any. So this reveal happened as soon as the closing. So I'm going to remind you of the full circle, because this comes back to old Earth, new Earth. What do you need to complete in your old Earth reality? Full circle, so that you can step into your new Earth self. Now, my new Earth energy was able to fully come in because I was choosing new Earth, and my beautiful beloved Nick is fully choosing old Earth. As much as he doesn't want to admit that, as much as it's not, it's the truth at this point in time. At this point in time, that is the functioning reality. And so when I released the last of the old Earth, which was his DNA, his signature, his energy from my being, I was able to align to the partner in my new Earth self. And it happened like that overnight. I was flooded with dopamine. I was flooded with serotonin. I felt like I was on mushrooms for 4 days straight. And I don't have words for what I've just come into, because as actually what I'll read it as we were creating and we were using this beautiful CAD process, is that every single moment has been instant vibrational feedback of arrival. When you say something, the other person says it back in their own way. When you express something and they completely interpret what you've said, the level of synergy, there's no separation point. There's no gap. There's nothing. There's no reverberation. There is just being. Now, I knew this was possible, hadn't experienced it. I knew that what I wanted could happen in human form, but had given up on it. I knew that I could be all of myself and be loved for that and not trigger someone, right? That's been hard for me. That's been the hardest thing for me, because I have had a colorful story, right? A partner that's jealous because I once had sex with somebody to get my car serviced, right? This is my life. This is what led me to here. This is the chaos. This is the wounding. This is all of it. How I survived, how I got here. Now, when your life experience is too much to trigger someone, you just want to feel safe in who you are. And I've never, ever felt safe to just be me with another person, because it's always been too much. Light, consciousness, story, human, all of it. So I learned to be so happy alone. So happy alone. And what I have now is complete acceptance, complete synergy, has walked the same path from a different lens, has been following me since the beginning of time to get to this point, as many of you will find. But you won't see it until you're ready, and you will be closed off. You will be disconnected from your gifts and your abilities. My oracle was bound. My vision was turned off. I could not. My God and myself would not let me fuck this up. Right? So it was, you're going in dark. You're going through the flames. You're going to rise from the ashes. You'll get to the other side and you'll see that it was all for a reason. Now I'm in the realization of it all being for a reason. And that our mission is to be the signature of love and share that for the golden era moving forward. There's never been any of the things that I've ever created on the planet before in this incarnation, because I chose to walk first, which meant I'm a birther of new realities. I'm a birther of creation, and that's what CAD is for. CAD framework is so that you don't have to go through the challenges that I went through, because I have done it first, which means there's a pathway for you. It doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be in the blindness. It doesn't have to be the turbulence. You don't have to get to a point where you're dying multiple times to gather the pathways. It doesn't have to be so brutal. And this is so beautiful for me, because even as far as mentioning that as my truth to be in divine union with another woman, completely in acceptance of that, because has also seen visions of the same kinds of things. The same visions I had in the first channels, the same vision. It's all in coherence. It's all in vibrational alignments. There's no need to have an argument. There's no need to calibrate something. There's no need to talk through something, because you're literally sharing from synergy, harmony. Now, we have this with many people. We have to choose it. We have to let go of what's in the way for that to be there. If this is the path for us, we have to recognize the path that wasn't for us. Even if it hurts because you love the person, even if it hurts because saying something like this on a public forum, in a social media, for education, for soul development, could be perceived in every other possible way. But he knows my heart. All of them do, in truth. And if it needs to be the catalyst, if it needs to be the trigger, if it needs to be the thing that lines anyone up to their heart's truth, I'm happy to be that. I'm happy to be hated on. I'm happy to be the example. And I want everyone to feel what I've landed into. I thought living in New Earth was magical, but living in New Earth with a partnership is magical. The possibility of a beautiful woman that I've also met coming into that space, like it's all just arriving here. I'm not doing anything other than being me. Isn't that what we all dream of? To just be loved for who we are, to just be ourselves, to not sacrifice, to not change, to not omit, to not give ourselves up, to stay true, to stay in alignment with our authentic self, to share. Those that want to hear us will hear us. Those that can't won't. And that's what I've always been here about. I don't care how you receive this, because I know that the messages are for those that are ready to receive this, that feel that they're on the same path, and many aren't. I'm not for everyone, and I never pretended to be. But I am here to show a new way. I'm here to show a new signature of love. I'm here to fuck shit up. I'm here to expand minds, break hearts open. I am here for it all. And I'm here to remind you that you have 2 days. And you can hate on me as much as you like right now. But you want to consciously choose your path of Geeia or Tara, then what is it that's keeping you in the old paradigm or the separation point? What is married? What is confusing you that just needs realization? It's not necessarily going to be easy, but it will be worth it. It will be so worth it when you choose what your heart actually wants, when you're honest with yourself, when you do what is required, when you listen so deeply, when when you hear everything, everyone telling you can't, you shouldn't, you're not this, you aren't that. And you can stand there and go, it's okay, I see where you're coming from. I was once there. I get it. I see how it looks. I'm a pretty educated woman. But I know who I am. I know where I'm at. I know what I have to offer. And I am so fucking happy because I'm living magic. I'm living creation. And those that want to come with me, let's do it. Let's create the new earth together. Let's create your dreams together. Message me. Let me know. Let's jump on a CAD call. Let's create. If New Earth is your creation point, let's do it. I love you. I love you. I love you. Thank you for receiving. In love and honor for all of the beautiful divine partners, all of the karmic relationships, all of the shadow moments, all of the ones that led me back to me, to God, to the truth of my sacred heart. I am so, so, so grateful for each and every one of you. If you ever, ever, ever need me, I am here. I love you.